When is a CB500X not a CB500X? When it's an NX500, of course. This week's video is brought to you by Rec Watches. Rec Watches are a group of watch connoisseurs, history buffs and petrol heads. Their watches pay tribute to some of the most iconic vehicles by salvaging original fragments and using them in the construction of these unique timepieces. These recycled parts with their subtle imperfections and patina make each watch a unique representation of the vehicle and carry its history with it. The limited edition collection includes watches featuring the DNA of a 1940 Mark 1A Supermarine Spitfire and the King of Cool's 1961 TR6 Triumph Trophy, which made the infamous Great Escape jump. One that grabbed my attention is the TTT Knievel, which features material from the 1977 Shark Jump XR750 Harley, which turned out to be Evil's final TV broadcast performance. Only 736 of these stunning Swiss-made timepieces were created, making this a real collector's item. So if you're looking for a truly unique and high-quality timepiece, then check out Rec Watches, and I'd like to thank the guys for sponsoring this particular video. So that means this should be a pretty quick and easy review of the NX500, which replaces the CB500X in Honda's adventure lineup. And that's because it's pretty much the same bike. The dependable 471cc twin motor remains mechanically unchanged, although there is a new ECU map which is said to offer better acceleration performance, and we'll look at that later on in the video. The NX500 also comes with Honda's selectable torque control as standard. The real story of this bike though is the change of the looks. There has been a definite move away from the more pointy CB500X. Not that that was ever an ugly bike, but this now seems to be a little bit more of a sibling to the bigger Africa Twin and Transalp in the Adventure range, and I think Honda have done a really good job with this. There's new LED headlight and taillight designs, and the fairing and screen are said to offer a little more wind protection. As before, the screen is not adjustable, but there is a handy sat-nav mounting bar, and I'll talk about the screen's performance in the riding section. Underneath this new bodywork, the steel frame is unchanged, so the wheelbase, the rake and trail, etc. are all exactly the same as the CB500X, but the bike itself is 3 kilograms lighter. And that lack of change in the chassis and all of the other measurements mean that the standover height stays the same. So the seat height, as you can see on the screen, I'm 5'10" with a 32-inch inside leg, and I can very easily flat foot this with bent legs. 1.5 kilos of that weight saving comes from these new cast wheels, and they've moved from a 7-spoke to a 5-wire spoke design, and that's trimmed the weight down, I think, around 700 grams on the front and 800 grams on the rear. The 41mm shower, separate function, big piston forks and single tube rear take care of suspension duties and offer 135mm of travel. As expected, the suspension is non-adjustable. Nissin 2-pot calipers take care of stopping duties via 296mm dual rotors at the front and a single 240mm disc at the rear. The Honda selectable torque control is, as I've said, standard on this bike now for 2024, and that keeps control of the traction of that rear wheel. It measures the speed difference between the front and the wheel and allows a little bit of slip, but it stops it from getting too far away from you. If you do, however, want to start getting tail happy on this bike, there is a button on the left controller where you can switch the HSTC off completely, and you've got unlimited slip on the back wheel. Those new simplified controls are very easy to operate. It's also good to see that they are backlit as well. The final change to look at is the new 5-inch TFT display. As usual with Honda, it's very clear and easy to read, and there's some nice functionality too. As you'd expect, there's a choice of light and dark displays, but you've also got 3 different screen layouts to choose from, as well as making all of the necessary selections that you wish to. It is also compatible with the Honda RoadSync system that offers smartphone connection, including turn-by-turn navigation, music and calls. So that takes care of the spec and changes for this bike. But the question is, have those changes altered the riding experience of the old CB500X? And there's only one way to find out, and that's to get out on the road. Okay, on to the riding section now, and this is probably going to be relatively short because there's not a lot of difference with this bike from the old bike in terms of mechanicals. In terms of the engine, the 471cc parallel twin remains unchanged, still putting out I think 46 horsepower, 43 newton meters of torque. And my first impressions are from last riding the previous year's model is there does seem to be a little bit more urgency out of the engine. It's always been a great engine, it thumps along, never feels like it's really strained, even at motorway speeds, and we'll do a little bit of sort of dual carriageway work later on, but about 5,000 revs gets you to 70 miles an hour. This little bike will thrum along like that all day long. Yeah, the changes they've made I think are evident. It just feels like it's just got that little bit more pep. Not necessarily any faster, just the throttle response just a little bit quicker off the mark. Gearbox nice and slick, no problems with that at all. Got a nice sound to it, although you probably can't hear that because of the crosswind that we've got. In terms of ride, where you've got to show a separate function big piston upside down 41mm forks, non-adjustable, and that's always going to be the way with a bike at this sort of price range. But actually it does a pretty good job of it. It's pretty well damped. I'm probably not the weight that this bike's suspension was set up for. Occasionally it gets a little bit bouncy. Brakes are good, dual discs on the front, twin piston calipers, front and rear brake are both effective, and I just love how light and nimble it feels. It's just a really good fun bike to ride. I always forget it. I kind of not discount it as such, but I kind of go, oh yeah, CB500X or now NX500, yeah, I'll go something bigger. But it's the bike that you can pretty much do everything on. Yeah, you're going to be limited a little bit off-road in terms of ground clearance, but if you're on sort of gravel trails and sort of not too gnarly single track, it will do very well. And obviously you need to be a little bit careful with the cast alloy wheels on this. Not quite as forgiving as a steel rim if you were to whack a rock, but it will do most of what sort of people want from it. You could tour on it. There's luggage options for this. I think the only time you'll notice that is if you're two up fully laden. It's only got 46 horsepower, I might struggle a little bit with that. It's not a huge amount of torque. It makes for a really nice commuter. It's slim. You've got a really nice high sort of commanding riding position. You can filter it through traffic really easily. It's a little bit of a Swiss Army knife bike, and I think with the updates that they've done, I really do like this new look. But as I say, that's probably all that I'd need to say about this bike in terms of the riding. If you've ridden the CB500X, it's going to feel very much the same. I think it just does feel that little bit more peppy. I'm not going to say it's faster, but I think off the bottom, it's just that little bit more response out of that new tune. Comfortable riding position too. I've got nice bent arms on the bars. My feet are not too high up. This one-piece seat actually is relatively comfortable. Longer journeys you might want to look at doing something else with that, but to be honest, I think you could get away with it. It's just a lovely bike. Honda have got a really good package here, and they're not messing around with it too much. You've got a nice punchy engine, decent looks, decent level of equipment, but yeah, the nimbleness and it's a bit cold. The nimbleness and the ease of handling on this bike just make it a pleasure. It's just such a simple bike to chuck around. Obviously in terms of kit on the bike there isn't that much, but when you consider the price that's not surprising. Obviously if you want to, you can get various packs. You can put luggage on it, tank bags, heated grips. There's a centre stand available. I would imagine there's a taller screen, although having said that, that screen so far has worked very well for me. I don't get any buffeting from that. I thought I might do with this helmet with the peak, but it's been fine. It's been one of the better ones actually. Yeah, it does seem to push through those roads a bit quicker than it did previously. So here we go, 70 miles an hour, so just over 5,000 revs, unstressed, unfussed. Yeah, I think it's a brilliant all-round bike. Easy to ride, comfortable, nice suspension, handles well for what it is. The engine is peppy, pretty fueled, pretty frugal as well. We've got I can't remember the size of it. It's 17 litres, 17.8 litres tank. I'll put it on the screen because I can't remember off the top of my head. But Honda are claiming you'll get 480 kilometres of range out of this. Previously I've always found these to be really good on fuel. It's nice and cheap to run. So there you have it. Great bike, good price, nicely spec'd, pleasure to ride, looks good. What's not to like? So there we go. I think the NX500 offers all of the fun, practicality and great value of the outgoing CB500X, but with a new contemporary look and a smattering of new toys. The colour choices are not particularly adventurous, but they all look great and are finished nicely. And at a list price of $6,799, I think it still offers great value. It's just a really nicely thought out new bike from Honda, which carries on that lineage of the CB500X, but just makes enough of a change to make a difference. So I hope you found this video useful. If you have got any questions about the bike, let me know in the comment section down below. And all that leaves me to say is until next time, thanks for watching, take care, ride safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.